tonight. Questions swirl about why a water bomber in La Ronge was grounded while fires burned.
Sell your home if you have to. Get there.
ALS patients say they wasted precious time and money on a Moose Jaw-based treatment program. And businesses feel the pinch of construction in downtown Regina.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, June 16th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. The fire ban on all Crown lands and provincial parks in the northern half of the province has come to an end, effective immediately. But the province's opposition says key aircraft for fighting those fires at their worst were recently left unused as fires raged out of control. Jeffrey Tram has our top story.
It was the absolute worst run evacuation I've seen in the history of Saskatchewan.
As wildfires threatened the La Ronge area early this month, Charlene Lavallee says key firefighting aircraft were grounded at the town's airport. She says that resulted in costly evacuations and unnecessary loss of property in her hometown.
2 water bombers and 2 fire retardant planes and Turbo Commander, which is your bird dog plane, that were all out of commission during the fires in northern Saskatchewan.
Lavallee used to work with Northern Air Operations, which was responsible for Saskatchewan's water bombers and air attack planes. She says some of the grounded planes had cracked wings since last year. Another plane hadn't been through winter maintenance, and that, along with shortage of staff, prevented them from taking off.
The Q400 is the new plane that's coming in that nobody has had any training on yet, and that the pilots have been advised that they won't be using it to fight fires.
Lavallee isn't alone in her criticism.
We need a government that's prioritizing planning in advance of disasters like this one. And what we've seen so far is a failure of leadership with Premier Moe.
Premier Scott Moe says the province ordered 4 new Conair Dash 8 firefighting planes, with 1 arriving in the last couple of weeks.
My understanding and my information is some additional Navigation Canada approvals that need to happen in order for it to get in the air. We want it in the air as soon as possible, along with 3 friends.
The Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency confirmed the first of those planes arrived May 30th, but training for the aircraft was delayed.
The operational decision was made not to remove those 4 pilots from active duty fighting fires, protecting our communities, so that they could train on the new plane, but rather to continue protecting our communities and saving lives.
The SBSA says the planes will be operational once pilots have complied with Transport Canada regulations. But Lavallee says it's little too late, and northern communities have paid the price. Jeffrey Tram, CBC News, Regina.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is hosting the G7 summit in Kananaskis, Alberta. Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump met ahead of the wider summit with other world leaders. Trump said he believes the 2 leaders can reach a trade deal within weeks. Here was his response when asked why they had not already reached an agreement.
I think we have different concepts. I have a tariff concept, and Mark has a different concept, which is something that some people like. But we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of it today. I'm a tariff person. I've always been a tariff. It's simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly. And I think Mark has a more complex idea, but also very good.
Tariffs are expected to be a hot topic at the summit because of Trump's global trade war with many U.S. allies. Leaders are also expected to discuss the latest conflict between Israel and Iran and the war in Ukraine. The federal government has unveiled the Canada Strong Pass to promote domestic tourism this summer. It offers families free or discounted rates to natural and cultural attractions across the country.
This pass is about discovering and reconnecting with nature, history, and culture of this remarkable country we all share.
It includes free admission to Parks Canada sites and reduced rates on camping fees from June 20th to September 2nd. Kids under 18 can enjoy free admission to national museums and travel at no cost with an adult on Via Rail. Visitors from abroad are also invited to take advantage of the offer. Saskatchewan companies are betting big on an emerging natural resource, helium. The province is on track to become a top global producer of the in-demand gas, but the current supply chain relies heavily on the United States. As Alexander Silberman shows us, producers are hoping to change that.
In the heart of the prairies, thousands of meters under the soil, companies are betting big on helium.
It's all new to this area and it's all exciting. We're just scratching the surface on our exploration and production at this point.
North American Helium is the largest in a field of about a dozen Canadian businesses, trying to turn a profit on a wide-ranging demand for the gas. It's needed for MRI machines at hospitals, manufacturing of semiconductors, and to launch satellites into space.
So that's the first step in our process, is the membranes.
The natural gas flows from wells into largely automated processing plants. Helium travels from deep underground through these pipes and tanks to get purified. But the final step of the process, turning the gas into a liquid, happens in the United States. That's something producers are hoping to change.
We've got great resource potential.
Amid a trade war, the industry argues there's a growing case to decouple its supply chain. But it says the first step is tax credits available to other critical minerals.
For the Canadian domestic use in hospitals here, we have to ship it across the border, become liquefied, and bring it back to Canada. A Canadian liquefaction plant would eliminate that problem.
The global market now has an abundance of helium. But despite shrinking margins, a Canadian liquefying plant would be worth it, according to this expert.
I think it sends a signal that, that Canada is in the helium business for the long haul, that they, they're more than a feed gas supplier to U.S. Sources.
With Qatar, the U.S., and Russia top helium producers, Canada's advantage could come down to geopolitics as a stable supply for trading partners that could also lift up the prairie economy. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, near Swift Current, Saskatchewan.
Cadmus Delorme has been chosen as the next Chancellor of the University of Regina. His 3-year term begins July 1st. Delorme was most recently the chair of the U of R's Board of Governors. Before that, he was chief of Cowessess First Nation from 2016 to 2023. As Chancellor, Delorme will oversee the academic health of the university and represent it in the community. Delorme succeeds Pam Klein, who had been Chancellor since 2019. Well, construction season is in full swing in downtown Regina, including a major revitalization project along 11th Avenue. But the project still has years ahead of it before it's finished, and it has some local businesses worried they won't survive the disruption. Chris Edwards reports.
My concern is that by the time this is over, there may not be anyone left on 11th to welcome everybody back to the downtown.
Danny Hackle helped run Mortis and Tenon on 11th Avenue since 2016. But earlier this year, she'd had enough and moved to a new location on 13th Avenue.
This is what 11th Avenue looks like right now. A mess of torn up concrete and construction vehicles where there used to be roads and sidewalks, and that's caused foot traffic to plummet.
What we were finding is that not only were we losing our regular customers who were having a hard time navigating the construction and the detours and all of that, but we also weren't gaining any new customers downtown because you just couldn't get to our space.
Norwood Clothing on the corner of 11th and Smith Street will also be moving to 13th Avenue next spring, citing lower foot traffic and higher crime.
The lucky part about us being a barbershop is people have an appointment, they're going to come. They're going to be late, and majority of our clients are late, but they still come. If we were a retailer, if we were in a restaurant, people would just go somewhere else.
Culture Grooming Lounge is just down the street from Norwood. It doesn't have any plans to leave, for now, but it says better communication from the city still would have helped. Mayor Chabashinsky says he's heard their concerns, but says people should focus on the long-term gain from the short-term pain.
I absolutely acknowledge that it can be frustrating to get around, but we're talking like 11th Avenue in particular. There's infrastructure underground there that's being replaced that is from 1913. So not only is it reducing that risk, but it's actually adding capacity to grow, and the surface level, the vibrancy that's going to bring when it's all said and done is extremely exciting.
For now, the future of these businesses is up in the air. Construction here will continue until at least 2027. Chris Edwards, CBC News, Regina.
While the annual Queen City Pride Parade took to the streets of Regina Saturday, thousands were in attendance with over 100 floats taking part. CBC Saskatchewan was also proud to have a part in the parade as well. Saskatoon's Pride Parade, by the way, coming up this weekend. The weather holding up nicely for the Queen City Pride Parade, though, without any rain, but there may be more rain in store for our province this week. Weather specialist Helena Mahalik has the details in her forecast after the break. ALS is widely known as a death sentence. 80% of people diagnosed die within 2 to 5 years. But a Moose Jaw scientist is offering hope that's now stirring up controversy. Dan Goodenow says he has invented supplements and a program that can halt and even reverse the symptoms of ALS, restoring patients back to health. He points to patients whose health has improved on his program, but experts say there are no published studies to back these claims. CBC's Jeff Leo traveled to California to catch up with Jeff Sando, who took part in Goodenow's program last year.
Initially, Jeff was crushed, hopeless, but then he decided to take action. Over the next few months, he and his family researched and tried many options. Then one of his caregivers recommended the Dr. Goodenow Restorative Health Center in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
Doctors are like saying, yes, sell your home if you have to. Get there.
Recovering from disease is just like people think you're crazy to even say it out loud. I'm here to talk to you about...
Goodenow's program is built around plasmalogens, fats which form a crucial part of the cell membrane. Goodenow says they are critical for brain health, but people with neurodegenerative diseases have a deficit. In a recent podcast, he said his supplements can turn things around.
If you actually provide the cells of the human body with the ingredients that they need, and then put yourself into an environment that stimulates that adaptability, the body will fix itself.
Jeff and Teresa were hooked, and soon they were on a call with Tracy Zimmerman, Goodenow's chief business officer. Teresa recorded the call in order to keep track of the details.
We do have a 100% success rate in stopping the progression and restoring function of people with ALS. It's something that we protect and we covet, right? And what we think is that your cells are going to improve and everything is going to get better, that it will regenerate. And Jeff, we expect you to get stronger.
They offered Jeff their 4-month program to set him on the path to recovery. The first 3 months would be spent here at the Dr. Goodenow Restorative Health Center in Moose Jaw, where he'd receive large doses of Goodenow's plasmalogens along with many other supplements, all in a community with other ALS clients.
It's not a fancy place. Like, we call this place boot camp. Like, this is rehab.
The final month, the patient would spend at home receiving the supplements and support from Goodenow's staff. The recovery center is billed as a restful place for healing where everything would be taken care of. The total cost of the program, $75,000 US. Jeff and Teresa were sold, and in September of 2024, they got on a plane and headed for Moose Jaw.
Welcome to the Restorative Health Center here in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
This building right on the edge of town used to be a hotel and then, more recently, a drug rehab center. Now it houses people who are hoping to recover from their debilitating diseases.
People are beating this disease. If you understand the science and you act on the science.
In a sales call, Goodenow's chief business officer, Tracy Zimmerman, told one couple that the fix for ALS is actually well known in the scientific community.
It's sad, but the scientists have actually known how to reverse ALS for decades. The same companies that profit off of you being sick are not going to be the companies that are going to bring you a cure. And anyone who believes that is deluding themselves.
The ALS Society of Canada says the disease is not curable, and the known treatments do not significantly alter the progression of the disease. David Taylor is the organization's chief scientific officer. He says he's seen no evidence to indicate that plasmalogens are some sort of ALS breakthrough.
There is not yet a lot of information or data to suggest that plasmalogens is a known effective treatment for ALS. Being very well plugged into the clinicians and researchers around the world who work on ALS every day, I don't think any of them are aware of this individual.
And CBC's Jeff Leo joins us for more on this now. So Jeff, what happens from here with Dr. Goodnow?
Yeah, so one of the most common questions I've been getting after the story ran is people expressing confusion. Like, how could it be that a guy could be allowed to make these sorts of promises, charge this kind of money to patients in such dire distress without any apparent oversight from government regulators or that sort of thing? So one expert I spoke with says this seems to be a gray area in Canada where governments have no legislation to kind of account for this sort of thing. As for Goodnow, he says he's not a doctor, he's not offering medical services, and his program is more like Weight Watchers, just health advice. He acknowledges that right now there are no published studies backing up his claims, but he says he's working on them. And he also has big plans to expand his operations in Moose Jaw. So right now he makes his supplements in the United States, but he wants to start making them here in Canada in a facility he's planning to build in the Moose Jaw area.
All right, CBC's Jeff Leo in our Regina newsroom. Jeff, thank you for this.
You're welcome.
And weather specialist Helena Mahalik joins us now. A stormy weekend for some of us, Helena.
Yes, Ethan, we saw a lot of rainfall in the province over the weekend. Some areas got a little more than just rain. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about. I'm talking about hail. Now, this is courtesy of Tim Arlt in the Hague area. It looks like it's snowfall, but it's really hail that has touched down on the ground. Some areas even got golf ball sized hail. This is courtesy of Tasha Vandale in the Hepburn area. The Hepburn area is also on Saturday where a tornado was confirmed in the area by Environment Canada. Another tornado was confirmed by them Friday in the Colville area. We did get a lot of rainfall in the province, specifically in the Meadow Lake area at 65 millimeters. Emma Lake got 26 millimeters, and places like Nipawin and Moose Jaw just got over 10. We are continuing to see rainfall this week in the province. Monday evening, there's a chance of showers with the risk of thunderstorms, especially in the southern part of the province, about a 60% chance there. We will see that rainfall continue all throughout the week. Tuesday, that rainfall comes to central Saskatchewan and up into the north. Wednesday, we'll continue to see that around areas like Saskatoon and Prince Albert. Throughout the rest of the week and into Thursday, that rain goes again towards Prince Albert and the western part of central Saskatchewan. So just how much rainfall are we in for, especially for south and central? Areas like Saskatoon could get 12 millimeters of rain, and in the southeast, areas like Grenfell could get around 15 millimeters. The north is also in for some rain, which is definitely needed for these forest fires. Areas like La Loche and the south end are in for just below 10 millimeters of rain. We definitely know that this is needed for the wildfire situation. We're seeing clearing skies, and we're seeing that situation definitely get under control after a few days of rainfall there. There is a chance in the next few days that Prince Albert area could have some smoke due to the northern Alberta wildfires. In the next few days, temperatures will be warming up Tuesday to around 25 degrees. In the next few days, southern Saskatchewan will stay quite warm at around 30 degrees, Ethan.
All right, Helena, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ethan.
Borden's Savannah Sutherland made history on the weekend, setting an NCAA record in the 400-meter hurdles at the National Championships in Oregon. Sutherland is only the second runner to break 53 seconds in that event. Stay with us. We have more news and a final look at the forecast after the break. Scott Warniuk has spent much of his life crisscrossing Saskatchewan. A few years ago, he decided to document some of the province's forgotten history. That turned into a YouTube series of vignettes called Abandoned Saskatchewan, and the series is now up for the Governor General's History Award for Popular Media, the Pierre Burton Award.
More so, there's so much in Saskatchewan's history, but you know, things like the Northwest Resistance in 1885, you know, those things have been done a lot. I was looking for more of some of the more obscure stories and trying to bring them to life. And it's amazing the response that I've gotten. And people were like, I didn't know that happened here.
Mm-hmm. What inspired this idea, though?
My dad, John Warniuk, had a encyclopedic knowledge of Saskatchewan history. Many times when we'd be driving, crisscrossing the province, as you mentioned, he'd say, oh, this used to be here, you know, this used to be here. And it instilled in me at an early age, you know, amazing how much history that we have here in this province. I do have a couple collaborators that, you know, are far more knowledgeable about these things than I am. And they say, well, have you considered doing this? Have you considered doing this? So now I have a whole shopping list of things that I'd like to still get accomplished here.
And Helena's back to tell us if we're in for any more stormy weather.
Yes, Ethan, I think we will be in for some more stormy weather. Let's take a look at the forecast for the city of Regina. We have sunny skies all throughout the week. However, the rainfall really is going to continue. Tuesday, we're not seeing that rain, but Wednesday onwards, that rain is going to be there. Temperature is still quite warm, though, into the end of the work week. We're seeing close to 30 degrees, and that slight chance of rain, about 30% with some thunderstorms as well. Into the weekend, that chance of rain elevates, so we might definitely see some rainfall, and temperatures will dip down to the teens because of that. Saskatoon is also in for a stormy week. Throughout the next part of the work week, we have a 30% chance of showers with some thunderstorms. Temperatures hovering at around 25 degrees, though. Into the weekend, those temperatures dipping down by almost 10 degrees as we see a 90% chance of rainfall. And overnight lows will still be above seasonal, but as we get into the weekend with those storms, we're seeing overnight lows dip down, Ethan. Things feeling just a little bit cooler with all those storms.
All right, Helena, thanks so much.
Thanks, Ethan.
And that is it for us. For more news anytime, you can head to our website or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, you can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.